Welcome. We're at day 8, week 8 of reading A Course in Miracles for our study group. For everybody tuning in for the first time, we're on chapter 2, page 24, and you can go to the function of the miracle worker in bold text. That's the portion we're at. And today I'm going to read the introduction for everyone who's tuning in for the first time, just to get I think it does a nice short little synopsis of what this book entails, and then we'll get started. Oh, and I want to say before we get started, if anybody needs the link to the book, there is a free version online, and I'll leave that link in the description box below. Okay, introduction. This is a course in miracles. It is a required course, only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to your awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. That's a kind of a great synopsis for what it's all about. Um, and it was written by Helen Schumann, and we just found this out last time in 1975, and it was a channeled book that she channeled from Jesus. But what we also talked about last time, and Angela pointed out, was the level of consciousness on the planet was not at where it is now. So it's always good to use our discernment and to take what resonates and leave the rest, because I don't know, that's the point of the journey, is to just, if something doesn't make sense to you or you don't agree with it, just leave it. It doesn't all have to make sense, and take what does resonate. Okay, fabulous. And I will read the first, I'll read the first paragraph, and then we'll go around in a circle and take turns. I'm very excited. Okay, let me take a deep breath, because sometimes I talk too fast and I get out of breath and I have to remind myself to slow down. Before miracle workers are ready to undertake their function in this world, it is essential that they fully understand the fear of release. Otherwise, they may unwittingly foster the belief that release is imprisonment, a belief that is already very prevalent. This misperception arises in turn from the belief that harm can be limited to the body. That is because of the underlying fear that the mind can hurt itself. None of these errors is meaningful, because the miscreations of the mind do not really exist. This recognition is a far better protective device than any form of level confusion, because it introduces correction at the level of the error. It is essential to remember that only the mind can create, and that correction belongs at the thought level. To amplify an earlier statement, spirit is already perfect and therefore does not require correction. The body does not exist except as a learning device for the mind. This learning device is not subject to errors of its own, because it cannot create. It is obvious, then, that inducing the mind to give up its miscreations is the only application of creative ability that is truly meaningful. Okay, because of the underlying fear that the mind can hurt itself. So, one second, let me sit with it for a second. Spirit is already perfect. I just take this to mean, my interpretation of it is that it's pointing to the first couple of paragraphs are always so hard to get back into the mindset of A Course in Miracles. That is because of the underlying fear that the mind can hurt itself. None of the errors are meaningful because the miscreations of the mind. So this is pointing to just, and from my perspective, like the miscreations that are reflected into us or reflected back to us in our reality stemming from a misthought or a belief that's not true have no real power over us. And it feels like they do to our body, to our ego. It feels like they have this great power over us and like they're keeping us down. But what I think this is pointing to is that because the body does not exist except for as a learning device to the mind, everything in physicality is simply just teaching us how to perceive the world through spirit. And sometimes we need an external reflection to show us where we're holding on to limited beliefs or limited thoughts in order to correct them through action or a new belief. That's kind of what I get out of this paragraph. Did anybody have anything to add or comments or anything?
I'm not really like in the mode of it yet.
That's how I felt. It kind of
So,
takes a few paragraphs. That's okay. We can just keep going if someone wants to read the next paragraph. Angela, you can go second if you'd like.
okay. Magic is the mindless or the miscreative use of mind. Physical medications are forms of spells, but if you're afraid to use the mind to heal, you should not attempt to do so. The very fact that you're afraid makes your mind vulnerable to miscreation. You are therefore likely to misunderstand any healing that might occur. And because egocentricity and fear usually occur together, you may be unable to accept the real source of the healing. Under these conditions, it is safer for you to rely temporarily on physical healing devices because you cannot misperceive them as your own creation. As long as your sense of vulnerability persists, you should not attempt to perform miracles. Um, this is something that I've kind of pondered a lot of like in performing miracles because like I do see the power of ritual and like using objects and like anything like that. But this is saying that it is the like the physical medication as a form of a spell. And I think that there is a point where it's like sometimes those things are necessary for us to like believe that it's happening. But I do agree with this in the sense that like we don't actually need anything in the physical world to make something happen, I guess. Um, like we don't need like a crystal that's gonna like make something happen or a certain herb. Like those things are helpful, but it's more of a piece of the mind until we really can like step into the full remembering of like it's not that's like doing it. It's us and it's our mind. That's what I got.
Hmm. Almost like the ego is using it as a symbol for what is already within us until we're able to integrate that symbol and become it. And then we no longer need the physical object.
Totally.
Yeah. What do you think, Xylo?
Well, this is my first encounter with the book, and it's speaking to my heart, and my heart is like racing. So I'm just really happy. That's how I feel.
I love that. That's so beautiful. This is a great um, book. I love this book. And then, yeah, do you want to read next? You can read the third paragraph.
Yes. Number 3. I have already said that miracles are expressions of miracle mindedness, and miracle mindedness means right mindedness. The right minded neither exalt nor depreciate the mind of the miracle worker or the miracle receiver. However, as a correction, the miracle need not await the right mindedness of the receiver. In fact, its purpose is to restore him to his right mind. It is essential, however, that the miracle worker be in his right mind, however briefly, or he will be unable to reestablish right mindedness in someone else. I just love the tone of healing. I love the tone of healing that really came out in paragraph 2 and came again in paragraph 3.
I agree. The right-minded neither exalt nor depreciate the mind. Does anyone know what the meaning of exalt is? I'm not familiar.
I see it as like holding it up. It's kind of like putting something on high or like putting it up on an altar.
Okay. Okay, the right-minded neither exalt nor depreciate the mind of the miracle worker or the miracle receiver. I like that. So it's just kind of like a neutral thing, like a correction from a miracle is neutral because it's just bringing you back to the truth. It's not bringing you higher or dragging you down lower. It's just bringing you truth. I love that. In his right mind, however briefly, or he will be unable to reestablish. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, I'll read number 4. The healer who relies on his own readiness is endangering his understanding. You are perfectly safe as long as you are completely unconcerned about your readiness, but maintain a consistent trust in mine. If your miracle working inclinations are not functioning properly, it is always because fear has intruded on your right mindedness and has turned it upside down. All forms of not right mindedness are the result of refusal to accept the atonement for yourself. If you do accept it, you are in a position to recognize that those who need healing are simply those who have not realized the right mindedness is healing. This this has like been my theme for the week, is like trusting that the fears of my ego have absolutely nothing to do with like how ready I am to just like live in a flow state, which I think when we're in the flow, when we're in the present moment, we are in that like open miracle readiness. And then all we're doing is surrendering to what wants to move through us. And so I think what is being said is we don't have to believe or trust that we are ready. We have to trust that when we surrender, spirit will flow through us and animate life in the perfect and most aligned way possible. And if you do not accept it, you are in a position to recognize that those who need healing are simply those who have, okay, you are in a position to recognize that those who need healing are simply those who have not realized that right-mindedness is healing. So essentially, when we believe that we're unhealed, while it feels true, like it feels so true to our ego that we have all this work to do and we have all this trauma stored in our body, but that is only because we're identifying with it and we're moving through life from our trauma. We're moving through life from our ego. And the only real thing that we ever have to do is surrender all of that and drop into the stillness of the present moment, and we will be healed immediately. That's how I interpret that paragraph. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I would agree that, the more you believe that you need to be healed, like the farther you actually are from that. It's like we're already healed, but it takes like the acknowledgement of that, the recognition of that.
Yeah. It's like and what this book is all centered about, forgiveness. It takes like a surrender to that forgiveness, which is another theme that's been popping up for me this week, is like forgiving myself for creating such painful things for me to move through. Being able to forgive the ego and to be able to forgive the limiting beliefs so that I am able to release from them and drop present into the moment. Yeah. I love that. Xylo, do you have anything to add? Or if not, we can move to the next paragraph.
I love that you brought up the flow state.
Yeah, just being in the moment.
Okay. Is it 5? Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, I think we're on the sole responsibility.
Yeah, okay. The sole responsibility of the miracle worker is to accept the atonement for himself. This means you recognize that the mind is the only creative level and that its errors are healed by the atonement. Once you accept this, your mind can only heal. By denying your mind any destructive potential and reinstating its purely constructive powers, you place yourself in a position to undo the level confusion of others. The message you then give to them is the truth that their minds are similarly constructive and their miscreations cannot hurt them. By affirming this, you release the mind from over-evaluating its own learning device and restore the mind to its true position as the learner. I see this as like the more you be that, the more you allow that opportunity for other people around you to heal. So it's like the more you can forgive yourself for, the miscreations and a not so great experience, the more you just kind of emit that, and then other people, it like, without having to consciously like talk about it, bring it up, it's the frequency that emits, and it will naturally, kind of like a tuning fork, like kind of, do the same for them. So that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I love that. I like that interpretation a lot. That makes sense. Beautiful. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, number 6.
All right. Thank you for the metaphor of the tuning fork. I really like that. Number 6. It should be emphasized again that the body does not learn any more than it creates. As a learning device, it merely follows the learner. But if it is falsely endowed with self-initiative, it becomes a serious obstruction to the very learning it should facilitate. Only the mind is capable of illumination. Spirit is already illuminated, and the body in itself is too dense. The mind, however, can bring its illumination to the body by recognizing that it is not the learner and is therefore unamenable to learning. The body is, however, easily brought into alignment with a mind that has learned to look beyond it toward the light. What do you two think about the first sentence? It should be emphasized again that the body does not learn any more than it creates.
The body does not learn any more than it creates. Well, I think it means like the mind, like the body is a learning device, but it's not the one that's learning. Because it has said in previous paragraphs that the body cannot create, only the mind can create. So I suppose that it would be saying it should be emphasized that the body does not learn any more than it creates. So um, it's a device to achieve learning through, but it's not the thing that's learning.
Is it okay to disagree with some of what's being read?
Yeah, of course. Of course you can.
I believe that the body can learn. What do you guys think? What's your experience? Can bodies learn, or is it only the mind? Who's the learner?
That's a good question. The
I'm
learner as a
thinking,
learning device.
have you guys heard of like the body keeps the score?
Mm-hmm.
I'm forgetting the author, but it just expanded my um, capacity to learn with my body. Um, I take issue with, you know, the body as a learning device. It's kind of like, I guess I believe that there's like multiple intelligences, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't make sense to me to compare the mind and the body, first of all, as separate, but as like the body is not something that is the learner, right? Verse 5, um, the mind, however, can bring its illumination to the body by recognizing it is not the learner and therefore unamenable to learning. I would flip that and say the body is a different type of learner with different intelligence and is therefore amenable to learning.
I like that.
I would agree with that. I think it's
Yeah.
I like what you said, that it's like its own intelligence, because I believe that as well. It's like this whole separation of mind and body. I think we're like in the middle of breaking that paradigm currently. And yeah, the body totally does have its own intelligence. And I don't know where I was going with this, but I agree with you.
Yeah. I was just talking about that last night with my husband because he was talking about, he said, I don't know what is up, but every time I eat meat, I get a really bad stomach ache recently, like the past couple weeks. And we started talking about how our bodies are so intelligent, and then sometimes our mind or our ego overrides it and tries to like pretend like it knows better than our body and make up excuses. When in fact, when our body is speaking to us through pain, like stomach aches after eating meat or something, it's trying to communicate with us. It's not putting us in pain because it wants us to suffer or because it hates us. It's just that is how it can communicate and get our attention, is by giving us a stomach ache when we eat something that it doesn't want. So I think that makes perfect sense to see the body as something. Um, I don't know. I guess it would be something that is a part of us, an extension of us.
Yeah. Honestly, I had this weird experience at the end of 2021 where I just could not eat anything cooked anymore. And like I have been living off of like mainly just bananas, like I always have like a banana. And yeah, like I can't eat anything that's cooked. The most I can do is like steamed rice, but I fully am like behind that, where it's like I think I know I used to be really into like the whole workout culture and like counting macros and getting so much protein. Honestly, I maybe get like 20 to 30 grams of protein a day now. And I look better. I feel better. I feel like I just in general am at like a completely different vibrational state. And it's like the only protein I'm getting is like from, yes. It's like I only eat like just butter. Like I bake my own bread, I bake sourdough and I put butter on it and like a bunch of salt. So it's like my foods are like whites and yellows and like that's it. And it
I
like to me feels like heavenly. Like exactly Silo with this banana right now. Like I feel that so heavily.
Yes, I love bananas. Thank you for inspiring me to go eat more bananas.
I love that. Wow, thank you for bringing up that um new different perspective. That was awesome.
Thank you for letting me express it. Hmm.
Of course. Okay. Next paragraph. Corrective learning always begins with the awakening of spirit and the turning away from the belief in physical sight. Corrective learning always begins with the awakening of spirit and the turning away from physical sight. This often entails fear because you are afraid of what your spiritual sight will show you. I said before that the Holy Spirit cannot see error and is capable only of looking beyond it to the defense of atonement. There is no doubt that this may produce discomfort. Yet the discomfort is not the final outcome of the perception. When the Holy Spirit is permitted to look upon the defilement of the altar, he also looks immediately towards the atonement. Nothing he perceives can induce fear. Everything that results from a spiritual awareness is merely channelized towards correction. Discomfort is aroused only to bring the need for correction into awareness. There is no doubt that this may produce discomfort. You know, this reminds me of a meditation I did the other night. It was a guided meditation, a random one I found on YouTube, and it just like totally slowly over the course of 45 minutes brought you inwards so deeply and sort of like had these, what's it called? No, she was talking and she was just like leading me to like slowly detach from this, slowly detach from that, and just like get more and more into this like void space almost as like this true energetic presence and like not leaving the body, but just like being aware of the body while not identifying with it. And it was so weird. It was like what it says, it feels uncomfortable. I remember being scared in that meditation, but I wasn't scared because I felt like something like evil or bad was there watching me. I felt scared because I could feel myself like truly falling in, moving into this like void state, this void space. Like I became fully aware and then detached from everything simultaneously. So it was like falling into nothingness. That's what the paragraph reminded me of, like the discomfort of no longer identifying with anything physical, being aware of it, but not seeing it as you, seeing it as what you are experiencing, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like that. It's kind of like that feeling when you're dreaming and you like are falling and then you suddenly wake up. Like I know what you mean by that. It's like when you finally slip into that and you're just kind of like falling and then you are like your awareness is like the around, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like it's not like you're hiding from reality or pretending like the physical isn't there, but it's like while you're becoming aware of it and detaching yourself from it, you can experience it from a totally new perspective. I don't know
Yeah.
if that makes sense, but that's kind of what I get out of the paragraph. Did y'all get anything different?
Mm. Um, let's see. There's no doubt that this may produce discomfort, yet the discomfort is not the final outcome of the perception. It's like that's pretty much exactly what you just said. It's like it's uncomfortable, but it's like having those experiences, it's like it's not always going to be so. It's like you're in that uncomfortable feeling or whatever, but you move through it.
Hmm. To get to more truth,
Yeah.
essentially. Look upon
Okay.
you.
I will
Yeah, it's
go.
almost, oh,
All
sorry.
right. What were you saying?
Oh, I was just gonna say, nothing he perceives. I was gonna say that it's almost like whenever you first see the fear of the limiting belief being reflected back to you in reality, if you then choose to become consciously aware of it and then bring that presence, that like omnipresent force into it with you, it's looking immediately towards the atonement simultaneously. So it's almost like you're able to rise above it and face it fearlessly, regardless of how uncomfortable it feels.
What do you think
That's
about the
all.
part that says nothing he perceives can induce fear? What is your thought on that? It's like when the Holy Spirit is permitted to look upon the defilement of the altar, he also looks immediately toward the atonement. Nothing he perceives can induce fear.
Hmm. Nothing he perceives can induce fear. I think because the Holy Spirit sees from like a totally different perspective than us, like the Holy Spirit, from my perspective, the Holy Spirit is our higher self. That's how I see it. It's okay if you don't agree with me. We don't, that's not the point of what I'm trying to say, but the way I see it is then, so the Holy Spirit, who is our higher self, is like the medium, like the middle person that's connecting God to physicality. And so through the Holy Spirit, through our higher self, we're simultaneously able to exist within the truth of God while perceiving all of the miscreations of the physical reality. And so, because the Holy Spirit is so connected to the truth of God, when it sees the miscreations through our limited beliefs, it almost like it immediately vanishes because it holds that presence of truth at the same time. Does that make sense?
I love that. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, because I would agree with you that the Holy Spirit is like our higher self. And I also like just in general to me, like the Holy Spirit is a woman, like that's just my belief. but but yeah, so I agree with you. I don't really have anything to say, but I feel that in my heart.
Beautiful. All right. And then
Okay.
Xylo, you can always jump in if you ever have any um, additional comments, but if not, we'll just go to the next paragraph. I just didn't want you to think that we were just like moving past you. Okay, you're good.
Okay, so the fear of healing arises in the end from an unwillingness to accept unequivocally that healing is necessary. What the physical eye sees is not corrective, nor can error be corrected by any device that can be seen physically. As long as you believe in what your physical sight tells you, your attempts at correction will be misdirected. The real vision is obscured because you cannot endure to see your own defiled altar. But since the altar has been defiled, your state becomes doubly dangerous unless it is perceived. So I see like this whole defiled altar thing. I'm kind of perceiving like the altar as like the reality, and the defiled altar is like would be like my own misperception of like what the reality is. So it says what the physical eye sees is not corrective, nor can error be corrected by any device that can be seen. So it's like if I am looking out and I'm just judging all of these things in my world, like I'm the one defiling the altar in that case. And and sometimes like we can get caught in this like wanting to correct things and then like doing it from like saying it's a place of love, like, oh, I want to improve this thing, but it's like that's not really our place. So yeah, it just goes back to like the forgiveness of it. Like I'm gonna forgive myself for seeing this as faulty or unsavory, I guess. That's what I've got.
That's what I got too. You cannot endure to see your own defiled altar. Yeah, I kind of got the same thing. I don't have anything to add. I love it.
Do you guys know tarot?
Um, Not like I know the basics kind of, but I never got super into it.
Yeah, same.
I will just add the Eight of Swords. There's a young person who has a blindfold tied up with 8 swords like standing around them. And that card to me can mean like spiritual sight, and sight has come up a few times in this passage. What the physical eye sees is not corrective, nor can error be corrected by any device that can be seen physically. I just love thinking about like our eyes for physical sight and then spiritual sight. It's like one of my interests. So I really liked this verse, and I like it whenever I'm called to see what is not so easily seen, you know? I love that.
Yeah, I love that too.
Shall I go on to the next verse?
Yeah, I love it. Let's do it.
All right. 9, developed after the separation, before which it was unnecessary. However, as
Your
long as time
connection is
persists.
breaking up.
Oh no. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. Okay.
Okay. Maybe I should slow down. Sorry, I'm checking my internet. Okay.
No, you're good.
Yeah. Thank you for stopping me, and please stop me again if I break up. I don't want you to sit there awkwardly and just listen to me break up. All right. Healing is an ability that developed after separation, for which it was unnecessary. Like all aspects of belief in space and time, it is temporary. However, as long as time persists, healing is needed as a means of protection. This is because healing rests on charity, and charity is a way of perceiving the perfection of another, even if you cannot perceive it in yourself. Most of the loftier concepts of which you are capable now are time dependent. Charity is really a weaker reflection of a much more powerful love encompassment that is far beyond any form of charity you can conceive of as yet. Charity is essential to right-mindedness in the limited sense in which it can now be attained.
Mm.
When I think of charity, I think of like giving to others. I like how this verse like pushes us to think more expansively of like, I just love the phrase love encompassment that is far beyond any form of charity you can conceive of as yet. I just love that. There's so much to like dive deeper in. They brought up space and time as temporary. Yeah. I love going deeper on these things, so I appreciate the author's willingness to like push us to think more expansively about charity.
Yeah. Time is because healing rests. I kind of understand the first part, but then this everything about charity, I'm just kind of like not, I'm kind of like, I don't really understand. This is because healing rests on charity, and charity is a way of perceiving the perfection of another, even when you cannot perceive it in yourself. I don't really understand that. Um, but the first part, I love talking about the belief of space and time because I really believe that it's temporary and space and time and all of this only exists as long as the ego exists, and the ego only exists as long as we believe we are separate from God. And that exists when we continue to keep ourselves in a future or a past by being anxious or depressed. And once we truly begin living in the present moment and staying out of stories collectively, essentially, the ego would cease to exist. And so then also would space and time, and we just immediately be back one with God as if we never even left, which I think is cool.
I love how you put that too. And then going back to what Zyla was saying about like the eyes and spiritual sight.
Mm.
Because one of my current obsessions is like I am totally obsessed with like Mormonism, but not
Mm.
like Mormonism as like the world knows it, like the mystical side of it. And it's like I don't know if you know anything about like Joseph Smith and like how he like translated, but he used like a hat and then he would cover his eyes with it. And then like that's how he was able to see, like to be able to translate the plates. And it's like there's there's something to like having the eyes open. Yeah. So like having the eyes open as if you're seeing in the physical world, but the complete darkness is like crossing over that barrier of space and time. And yeah, I don't exactly know where I was going with that, but like it's like and this is like why the body is a lot more like it's so much more necessary than I think we used to believe because like I feel like he was really only able to do that because you see channelers like they'll close their eyes and stuff and it's like I don't like people do whatever, but for me like for me to like activate my spiritual sight, I believe that my eyes need to be open. And if you think about it, like when we die, like our eyes are open. Like I don't know if you've ever seen like someone die, but like the eyes open. And
Mm.
and I think it's like to have that like open that's like the spiritual side. I don't know like what I'm trying to get at, but yeah. So sorry, I'm like totally derailing, but like that was my thoughts.
No,
I'm done.
you're good. No, I love that. That was
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
Yeah, no, I was so into it. I was like, yeah, okay. I see what you were trying to say. That was cool. I never thought of it like that before.
Yeah, because the body is like it's so like entirely mechanical while not being mechanical at the same time. Like I'm really into physiology and um like just like the operations that exist within the body. So it's like I think that in order to like to be in this like timeless space, I think that's why we need to like walk through darkness because like there is like that sense of like having the eyes open while being in the dark. Like I would love to just like be like put in a cave for like, you know, a couple days and just to be able to chill in there because like there is really nothing like just being in complete darkness with your eyes like wide open. So,
Yeah, I've thought about before they have these darkness retreats. And I've seen videos of people like on the seventh day or the 10th day or however long they decided to do it for. Like they come out and they videotape them taking off their blindfold and like being exposed to light again for the first time. And it's always such like a really like raw, guttural, emotional reaction. And then they always say that their time in complete darkness was totally like life-changing and transformational. And I just have always wanted to do one of those darkness retreats.
totally. I love that. Sorry to derail. I'm really good at just like derailing everything, but
No, you're
No,
good.
it's so valuable, girl, valuable.
Yeah, that's all we're doing here is just going on our own little tangents with each other. Okay. Oh, it's my turn to read. I didn't even realize. Okay. Is it my turn to read or did I just read?
I just read.
Okay, it is my turn. Okay. Charity is a way of looking at another as if he had already gone far beyond his actual accomplishments in time. Since his own thinking is faulty, he cannot see the atonement for himself, or he would have no need of charity. Now I understand. I was so confused about this word charity. The charity that is accorded him is both an acknowledgement that he needs help and a recognition that he will accept it. Both of these perceptions clearly imply their dependence on time, making it apparent that charity still lies within the limitations of this world. I said before that only revelation transcends time. The miracle, as an expression of charity, can only shorten it. It must be understood, however, that whenever you offer a miracle to another, you are shortening the suffering of both of you. This corrects retroactively as well as progressively. This really helped me understand the previous paragraph way more because I was like, my mind was just really caught up on charity. I was like, what do they mean by charity? But okay, now I am kind of seeing it from a new perspective that like this right-mindedness that we're practicing when we view the world, even people who like it's not like we're going around telling people like guess what, creating miracles with the way I view the world. It's like we're not like verbalizing it. Nobody actually knows the work that we're doing. The work that we're doing when we do this work is internal, it's spiritual, it's like just a presence. And it's not necessary for anybody to know that this is what you're doing. And it's my interpretation that the way that this book uses the word charity is by, when you see somebody and they get into a car accident, choosing to use your right-mindedness to view the situation, just saying like, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Like, I'm sorry that I can even perceive you as somebody who just got into a car accident and got injured. That's not just a you problem, that's an us problem. The fact that you're injured and I can even perceive you as injured means it's an us problem. And so I'm going to bless the situation with the charity of my choice to attempt to view it from right-mindedness, like by forgiving the situation. Does that make sense? Because like if the fact that someone can even get into a car accident and get injured is a misperception in and of itself, it's a misperception and a miscreation by their limited belief systems and by my limited belief systems. It's almost like whenever you go into like pray with somebody who is sick, it's not like you're just like, I'm praying to God because you're so sick. You're so sick, and I'm praying to God that you get healing. That's like very separate mindedness. It's like we're coming into this space of prayer in these silent moments where we're like, I'm calling in the presence of God because we are sick. We are sick. They are experiencing the illness, and I can even perceive them as ill, and we need your correct perception. We need your grace or whatever it is. That's what I got from it.
Yeah, I like that. I kind of am not fully like understanding the charity part either. Um, I guess I don't really know like the definition of charity. Is charity like an act of service?
Um, I don't know. I was, from my personal perception, I guess unconsciously, and now it's becoming conscious, always thought of charity as like something that somebody who has more does for somebody who has less. And so it's like this like hierarchical thing. That's why I didn't really like the word charity, because it felt like a hierarchical thing. But
Okay.
I think in the way where it's saying charity is a way of looking at another as if he's already gone far beyond his accomplishments in time. Um, I think they're trying to redefine charity as something else, and that's what I'm getting from it anyway.
Yeah.
All right. I'm like that one's over my head a little bit.
Yeah, this word has been tripping me up the past couple paragraphs.
Okay, so the next part, it's going over to special principles of the miracle workers. Is that right? Are we good on time, or are we like
I
Let me check.
I will have to be going very soon to take my dogs to the dog park.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's already been about an hour, so we can save that for next time, and we can flip back to the lessons. In the back of the text, there's a portion for lessons, and it kind of gives us a way to implement these teachings. And we've been practicing each lesson for the week until the next time we meet up.
Hmm.
So on the website, that's under the part that says workbook for students.
Thank you.
I don't remember which lesson it was though.
We're on lesson 5. Lesson 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am never upset for the reason I think.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah. I'm going to be thinking about this charity word
Yeah.
over the next week and really trying to figure out what's going on here. Okay. Okay, lesson 5. Perfect. I think I'll read the lesson. Ah, my bookmark. Okay, here we go. Lesson 5. I am never upset for the reason I think. This idea, like the preceding one, can be used with any person, situation, or event you think is causing you pain. Apply it specifically to whatever you believe is the cause of your upset, using the description of the feeling in whatever term seems accurate to you. The upset may seem to be fear, worry, depression, anxiety, anger, hatred, jealousy, or any number of forms, all of which will be perceived as different. This is not true. However, until you learn that form does not matter, each form becomes a proper subject for the exercises for the day. Applying the same idea to each of them separately is the first step in ultimately recognizing they are all the same. When using the idea for today, for a specific perceived cause of an upset in any form, use both the name of the form in which you see the upset and the cause which you ascribe to it. For example, I am not angry at blank for the reason I think. I am not afraid of blank for the reason I think. But I think when it says like, and this is just my own thought about that paragraph where it says like form doesn't matter. I feel like it's like because it's the energy underlying the form, and because that part kind of tripped me up for a second, but like the energy underlying the form is the same, and it doesn't matter what shape it takes in physical reality, it's going to be the same underlying energy that you need to work through, just being manifested into form. Okay. That just kind of helped me process it too, being able to say that out loud. But again, this should not be substituted for practice periods in which you first search your mind for sources of upset in which you believe and forms of upset which you think result. In these exercises, more than in the preceding ones, you may find it hard to be indiscriminate and to avoid giving greater weight to some subjects than to others. It might help to precede the exercises with the statement, there are no small upsets. They are all equally disturbing to my peace of mind. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Then examine. then, then examine your mind for whatever is distressing you, regardless of how much or how little you think it is doing so. You may also find yourself less willing to apply today's idea to some perceived sources of upset than others. If this occurs, think first of this. I cannot keep this form of upset and let the others go. For the purposes of these exercises, then, I will regard them all as the same. Then search your mind for no more than a minute or so and try to identify a number of different forms of upset that are disturbing you, regardless of the relative importance you may give them. Apply the idea for today to each of them using the name of both the source of the upset as you perceive it and of the feeling as you experience it. Further examples. I am not worried about blank for the reason I think. I am not depressed about blank for the reason I think. 3 or 4 times during the day is enough. I like that one. What do y'all think?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's super
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
I find myself to be like, I don't want to say like I'm a naturally agitated person, but I am. And it's like I most of the time I'm just like irritated by like the smallest little things. And yeah, that's why I was laughing, because it's like, you know, it's like those stupid things where like my hair will get stuck in the door or something, and then I'm like irritated the rest of the day. So
Yes. Well, awesome. I had so much fun with you guys today. Thank you so much for being here. And it was nice to meet you, Xylo. I'm so glad you jumped on.
Yes, this was awesome. Thank you guys.
yeah,
Of
thank you.
course.
I had so much fun
Of
too.
course. Yay. All right. And I'll be back here next Wednesday at the same time.
Amazing. Thank you, April.
Thank y'all.
Okay, see you then.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.